The USA emerged from the 13 British colonies on the Atlantic coast of North America into a monolithic power dominating the oceans. The United States emerged as a great power because if it wouldn't, then it was very likely to disappear. In order to survive, the United States had to expand either its naval capabilities or in terms of its strategic depth. The former wasn't possible as the US didn't possess the necessary experience and resources, thus they went for the strategic depth. The favorable climate, as well as the navigable rivers along the coast, allowed the United States to gain wealth necessary to expand. Thus, in 1803, by purchasing Louisiana from France, the US got its hands on some of the world's most productive lands, the Mississippi River Basin. The Mississippi River system not only provided the United States with a strategic depth, but also facilitated trade and production for the settlers, as it allowed for the cheap transport of goods as well as the access to the clean water. Thus, the Mississippi Basin is the core of the United States power. However, the United States was still vulnerable on the land. It had to prevent any country from threatening it in North America, and the only country who was able to do it was Mexico. The Canadian forests, as well as the Great Lakes, combined with the unfavorable climate, prevented the British and really any other power from challenging the United States from the north. Mexico, on the other hand, already had a strong position in North America, with its northern border stretching from California to Texas. In addition to that, in the early 19th century, Mexico was actually stronger than the United States. In addition, a distance between Mexico and the Mississippi's ending point, the New Orleans, was only 900 kilometers, which meant that the Mexican forces could easily cut off the Mississippi's access to the seas. After two confrontations in 1835 and in 1845, the US became the North America's strongest land power and was no longer challenged by any other country in the region. During the Mexican War, the United States developed a railroad system. The railways facilitated rapid industrialization in the north, while the south was still heavily focused on the plantation-based production, and thus the slavery. This split eventually led to the Civil War in 1861. Slavery is basically a system which applies the property law to the people. It was used in many countries for years. However, with the industrialization, it became evident that a worker who can lose his job gives more effort than a slave who would have his sleeping place and the meal anyways. In the United States, a split between the industrialized North and the plantation-based South led them to a civil war, with over 1 million people dead. After the war, the United States created a strong centralized government which allowed it to grow and become even stronger. At the second half of the 19th century, the United States found itself insulated by two oceans, which meant that it had to protect its shores. At this point, the United States had to create a strong navy. Being insulated by oceans from both sides meant that the United States could and actually was attacked from both the eastern and western coasts, hence burning of Washington in 1814 or the Pearl Harbor attacks in 1941. In addition, the United States also became the world's largest agricultural exporter. Thus, it had to build a strong navy not only to protect its shores, but also to protect its trade. However, I will explore that, the Cold War, and the modern-day United States in the next part. You listened to Geography and Economics. If you are interested in more videos of this sort, you could subscribe and press the like button. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe for the next part.